FA Cup quarterfinals weekend is here and it is going to be absolutely wild, let me be honest with you. This is not your average FA Cup weekend. We are not talking about Premier League giants cruising past non-league minnows with nothing on the line. No. This weekend, the FA Cup quarterfinals are serving up 4 genuinely exciting matches that could change the course of several club seasons in one single afternoon and evening. Trophies, relegation battles, injury crises, teenage prodigies, managers under pressure, rival clubs fighting for survival. It is all here, packed into one beautiful football weekend. So grab a cup of tea or whatever your match day drink is, get comfortable and let us walk through everything you need to know before a single ball is kicked. By the end of this, you will know every key story, every player to watch, and every reason why this weekend matters more than most. Ready? Let us go. The big one first, Southampton versus Arsenal. Saturday, 8 p.m. Okay, so if you follow Arsenal at all, and since you are here reading this, I am going to assume you do, then you already know that the last few weeks have not exactly been smooth sailing for Mikel Arteta and his squad. Arsenal went into the Carabao Cup final full of confidence, full of ambition, and honestly, many fans felt this was going to be their moment. Then Manchester City came along and handed them a 2-0 defeat that was, to put it simply, a hard watch. The quadruple dream was gone in one game. 4 trophies became 3 trophies, became a question mark over whether this squad can handle the biggest moments. Now Arsenal come back from the international break and face Southampton in the FA Cup quarter-final at St Mary's Stadium. And here is the thing that a lot of casual fans might miss. This is not a free hit. This is not an easy night out. Southampton are a genuinely dangerous opponent right now, and if Arsenal are not switched on from the very first minute, this could go wrong. Let us talk about why. Southampton are playing in the Championship, not the Premier League. On paper, that sounds like good news for Arsenal, but Southampton have been unbeaten since January. We are not talking about 1 or 2 games without a loss. We are talking about a run of form that has them pushing hard for a Championship playoff spot, which could take them back up to the Premier League. These players are motivated, organised, and they have nothing to lose against Arsenal. That combination is dangerous. Remember the last time these two teams met in the FA Cup, Southampton won 1-0 at St Mary's. Arsenal fans certainly remember it, even if they would rather forget it. And then on top of that, Southampton knocked out Fulham in the last round at Craven Cottage, away from home, with a 91st minute penalty from Ross Stewart. That is not the performance of a side that is just happy to be here. That is a side that believes it can cause an upset. So what is the story on the Arsenal side? Well, the injury situation is genuinely alarming if you are an Arsenal fan. We are now in double figures when it comes to players who are sidelined or carrying doubts into this game. Let that sink in. Over 10 players are either injured or major concerns ahead of one of the most important domestic games of the season. Mikel Merino is definitely out. He will not be at St Mary's at all, gone. Martin Zubamendi, Piero Hincapié and Noni Madueke are all listed as major doubts. These are players Arsenal rely on heavily in different ways, and losing all 3 at once is not ideal. Eberechi Eze, who was so exciting when he moved to Arsenal and who many fans hoped would be a key player in the Carabao Cup final, is also missing with a calf injury. That one hurts. Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice both returned early from England duty during the international break, which naturally raises questions about their fitness levels. Arteta may choose to rest them completely for this one, or he may bring them in carefully depending on how they look in training. And then there is the big question in goal. Kepa Arrizabalaga was criticised heavily for a mistake in the Carabao Cup final loss to Manchester City. Goalkeeping errors in big finals have a way of following a player for a long time, and Arteta now has a decision to make. Does he keep faith with Kepa or does he make a change? It is a big call. The wrong decision in either direction could cost Arsenal. On the positive side, players like William Saliba, Gabriel, Leandro Trossard, Martin Odegaard and Jurrien Timber are all expected to be fit. That is good news. Those are important players. But the sheer number of absentees means that the squad depth is being tested in a way that few people expected at this stage of the season. And here is something that adds even more spice to the situation. Arsenal also have a Champions League quarter-final first leg at Sporting on Tuesday, 3 days after this match. So Arteta is not just picking a team for Southampton. He is managing an entire week, an entire squad, an entire treble bid in one selection decision, which brings us to a name that a lot of people are going to be hearing a lot this weekend. Max Dowman. If you have not heard of him yet, you will very soon. He is 16 years old. Yes, 16. He recently became the youngest ever goal scorer in Premier League history when he netted against Everton. He also scored for England under-19s during the international break. The kid is extraordinary. And here is the thing, St Mary's Stadium is actually the perfect place for Dowman to shine. Why? because it is the same ground where a very young Theo Walcott made his own breakthrough. Walcott was also 16 when he burst onto the scene, and he went on to become a proper Arsenal legend. History repeating itself would be very, very special. Could Arteta start Dowman against Southampton, given all the injuries around him? It is a genuine possibility. And if he does, you will want to be watching, because that could be one of those moments you talk about for years. The prediction for this one is Arsenal to win 3-1. Southampton will make it difficult and they will create chances, because that is what their form suggests. But Arsenal, even a depleted Arsenal, should have enough quality to get through to the semi-finals at Wembley. However, this is football, nothing is guaranteed. And the fact that Southampton are unbeaten in 14 games and have a massive league game of their own on Tuesday means both managers have complicated decisions to make about how much they want this cup run. What do you think? Can Southampton pull off the upset, or will Arsenal have too much quality even with all the injuries? Let us know in the comments, because this one genuinely could go either way. Manchester City versus Liverpool, Saturday, 12:45 p.m. Right, while the Arsenal match is the one that most of you reading this are focused on, we cannot ignore the fact that the lunchtime game on Saturday is also a massive deal. Manchester City versus Liverpool in the FA Cup quarter-finals at the Etihad. These two teams have been the dominant forces in English football for most of the last decade, and putting them together in a cup quarter-final is just brilliant television, even if you support neither of them. City come into this off the back of winning the Carabao Cup by beating Arsenal 2-0. They are already in the trophy cabinet this season, and they will now be targeting a domestic treble, which would mean winning the FA Cup and the Premier League as well. Pep Guardiola will not be taking Liverpool lightly. He never does. And with the Champions League already out of the picture for City, Guardiola has more time and focus to put into domestic competition. That is very good news for City and slightly concerning news for everyone else, including Arsenal, who may face them later if they both keep winning. The expectation is that City will field a strong team for this one. They have the week relatively free, apart from a league trip to Chelsea the following Sunday, so there is no midweek game to worry about. Guardiola can go full strength if he wants, and logic says he probably will. Liverpool, on the other hand, are in a very different situation. Arne Slot is being pulled in multiple directions right now. Alisson Becker, their goalkeeper, is a doubt. That is a significant concern. Mohamed Salah, one of the best players in the world, is also carrying a fitness question. Jeremy Frimpong is another doubt. Losing any of those three players is a problem. Potentially losing all three at the same time for a game of this magnitude is a real headache, but there is more. Liverpool also have a Champions League quarter-final against Paris Saint-Germain on Wednesday. And then 3 days after that, they have Fulham in the Premier League as they chase a return to European football next season. That is 3 massive games in 7 days, and Slot has to somehow navigate all of them. So the question becomes simple: how much does Slot want the FA Cup this weekend? If he rotates heavily and Liverpool lose, nobody will be too surprised given the circumstances. But if he goes strong and Liverpool still lose, there will be questions about where the team is really at. And if they somehow win with a rotated squad, that sends a very different kind of message about the depth of the squad. This is a genuinely fascinating tactical puzzle, and the result will tell us a lot about both clubs' ambitions for the rest of the season. Who do you think wins between City and Liverpool when both are going strong? And does it change things if Slot rests half his squad? Chelsea versus Port Vale, Saturday, 5:15 p.m. Now we move on to Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea host Port Vale in what looks on paper like the most straightforward result of the weekend. Chelsea are in the Premier League, Port Vale are in League One. There are 61 places separating these two clubs in the English football pyramid. Port Vale just got beaten 4-0 by Wycombe last weekend. Chelsea have won 37 consecutive cup ties against lower league opposition, going back to their famous shock defeat to Bradford City in 2015. On numbers alone, this should be comfortable for Chelsea. But here is where it gets interesting. Chelsea manager Liam Rosignol is under serious pressure. His team has lost 4 games in a row. That is not a small run of bad form. 4 consecutive defeats at a club like Chelsea, where expectations are always sky high, means the questions are getting louder and the patience is getting thinner. And into this environment walks Port Vale with nothing to lose. They are a League One club who have somehow made it to the FA Cup quarter-finals. That journey alone is remarkable. They will not be scared of Stamford Bridge. They will be enjoying every single second of it, and teams with nothing to lose who face opponents with everything to prove can be incredibly uncomfortable opponents. 2 senior Chelsea players also made comments during the international break that questioned the direction of the club. That is the kind of thing that rarely helps team spirit before a big game. What Chelsea need more than just a win is a performance. A dominant, convincing, exciting performance that gives the fans something to shout about and gives Rosonio some breathing room before Manchester City arrive the following Sunday in the Premier League. That is the game that will really define his Chelsea tenure in many ways. A narrow 1-0 win against Port Vale will not fix the mood at Stamford Bridge. The fans need goals. They need quality football. They need to see something that reminds them why they should be excited about this team. Rosenior will almost certainly use this game to give some squad players some minutes, which makes sense given the fixtures coming up. But he needs to balance that with getting the right result and the right performance. Port Vale, for their part, deserve enormous credit just for being here. Whatever happens on Saturday, that run to the quarterfinals is an achievement the club and their fans should be incredibly proud of. Do you think Chelsea can put on the kind of display their fans need, or will the pressure see them make heavy weather of this one? West Ham versus Leeds, Sunday, 4:30 p.m. And finally, we come to what might actually be the most emotionally loaded match of the entire weekend when you look at everything that is riding on it for both clubs. West Ham hosts Leeds at the London Stadium on Sunday afternoon, and this one carries weight that goes way beyond the FA Cup. Both clubs are in the Premier League bottom three. Yes, you read that right. 2 FA Cup quarter-finalists are currently fighting against relegation from the top flight. Only 4 points separate them in the league table, with just 6 games left to play in the season. And they face each other on the final day of the league season in a match that could genuinely decide who goes down. Think about that. These 2 teams will face each other in the FA Cup on Sunday and then again on the last day of the season with potential Premier League survival on the line. The history building between these clubs right now is extraordinary. So what does a cup win mean in this context? For both clubs, it means Wembley, it means a semi-final, it means a story that their fans will remember forever. But more than that, it means momentum and morale and belief that you can compete. When you are down in the relegation zone, wondering if you are good enough to stay in the Premier League, a big cup win against a fellow top-flight rival tells you something important about who you are as a team. West Ham have been in decent form recently despite their league position. Under Nuno Espirito Santo, they have only lost 3 times in their last 10 games, and those losses were against Aston Villa, Liverpool and Chelsea. Those are not embarrassing results. That is a team that is competitive and growing. They will be boosted if winger Crescencio Somerville returns from his calf injury because he has been one of their best players this season. West Ham have not been in an FA Cup semi-final since 2006. That is 20 years. The fans will be desperate to get back to Wembley and that desire will fill the London Stadium on Sunday afternoon. Leeds have their own motivation. They have not made the FA Cup semi-finals since 1987, nearly 40 years. Just getting to the quarter-final is rare territory for them and they will not want to waste this opportunity. Their problem has been scoring goals recently. Leeds have failed to find the net in 4 consecutive league matches. That is a real concern when you are facing an opponent at this level. They did score 3 against Norwich City in the previous round, but the league form in front of goal has been worrying. If Leeds cannot find a way to score on Sunday, they will not be going to Wembley. This match honestly has everything: relegation subtext, historic cup runs, 2 managers desperate for a big result, 2 sets of fans who would love nothing more than a day at Wembley before the league running gets even more stressful. Which of these teams do you think handles the pressure better on Sunday? What it all means for Arsenal and the treble dream. Let us come back to where most of us who are part of this community are really focused. Arsenal and the treble. After losing the Carabao Cup, Arsenal still have 3 competitions alive: the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Champions League. A treble would be an incredible achievement. It would likely be the greatest thing this generation of Arsenal players has ever done. It would silence so many of the doubters who have questioned whether Arteta can deliver on the biggest stages. But trebles are hard. They are hard because you need luck with injuries. Arsenal do not have that right now. They are hard because you need to peak at exactly the right time across multiple competitions. Arsenal are being asked to peak against Southampton on Saturday and then again at Sporting on Tuesday and then again and again through until the end of May. The depth of the squad is being tested right now. The character of the players is being tested, and the judgment of the manager in rotating and managing minutes while still keeping results coming is being tested harder than at any point this season. If Arsenal get through Southampton and then perform well at Sporting, this squad will have shown something genuinely special. But if the wheels start to come off because of the injury crisis and the fixture pile-up, it will raise uncomfortable questions about whether this team is truly ready to win everything. Max Dowman could be the unlikely hero of the whole run, a 16-year-old stepping up when experienced players are missing, scoring goals, lighting up Wembley. That would be a beautiful story. Football sometimes writes those stories and we should allow ourselves to enjoy the possibility of it. The FA Cup is a special competition, it still matters, and for Arsenal fans, keeping this run alive on Saturday night is absolutely vital. a quick look at the full schedule just so you have everything in one place for your weekend planning. Saturday lunchtime, Manchester City host Liverpool with kick-off at 12:45 p.m. Saturday afternoon, Chelsea host Port Vale at Stamford Bridge with kick-off at 5:15 p.m. Saturday evening, Southampton host Arsenal at St Mary's with kick-off at 8 p.m. Sunday afternoon, West Ham host Leeds at the London Stadium with kick-off at 4:30 p.m. The Southampton versus Arsenal game will be shown live on TNT Sports and also free to air on BBC One, so everybody can watch it, which is brilliant. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. if you want to catch the build-up and team news. Final thoughts and a question for you. Football is at its absolute best when the stakes are high, the stories are genuine, and the outcomes are uncertain. This weekend has all three in abundance. We have Arsenal fighting to keep a treble bid alive despite a crippling injury list and a teenager who might just become the hero of the whole run. We have City and Liverpool going head-to-head in a classic rivalry with huge tactical questions around squad management. We have Chelsea under pressure, needing to prove they are better than their recent form suggests. And we have two relegation-threatened clubs playing each other in a cup tie with Wembley dreams and Premier League survival both quietly sitting in the background. This is why we love football. This is why we get up on Saturday mornings and start checking team news and injury updates and formation predictions, because the game gives us these moments and we should treasure every single one of them. Here at Olivia Sports Arsenal, we will be watching every minute of the Southampton game with full focus and full support. We believe in this squad. We believe in Arteta even through the difficult patches, and we absolutely believe that this group of players can find a way through a tough away trip and keep the dream alive. So here is the question we want to leave you with today. If Arsenal win at Southampton on Saturday, can they go on and win the treble this season? What would need to happen? Which competitions do you think they are strongest in right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this post with a fellow Arsenal fan who needs to be pumped up for Saturday. And let us enjoy this weekend of FA Cup football together, because moments like these are the moments we will remember long after the final whistle. Come on, Arsenal. Let us go to Wembley.